People often confuse kindness with availability. You think you're being helpful, supportive, loving, but really, you're bleeding. You say yes when you mean no. You respond when you're depleted. You try to be a steady presence for others, while silently falling apart inside. And the world doesn't notice, because you've trained them not to. They've learned. You'll always pick up, you'll always help, you'll always show up. But here's what no one tells you. People don't respect what never disappears. Not out of cruelty, but because consistency without boundaries is mistaken for obligation. So your overgiving becomes a habit, a script, a shadow, and eventually, a silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the aching kind. The where did I go kind. You wake up drained, you go to bed unfinished. And in between, you give until there's nothing left of you to come home to. This isn't about blaming others. It's about waking up to the quiet self-betrayal we've been taught to call being a good person. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And for so many of us, overgiving isn't kindness. It's conditioning. It's a survival pattern, learned early, praised often, and rarely questioned. You were taught that saying no was rude, that rest was lazy, that asking for space was selfish. So you learned how to disappear, while still being there for everyone else. This video is for the ones who've performed strength for so long, they forgot what it feels like to rest. For the ones who can sense their own resentment building, but are too exhausted to speak it out loud. It's not too late to come back to yourself, to give yourself what you've been giving away, to reclaim your energy, your clarity, your silence, without guilt. This is the beginning, not of becoming selfish, but of becoming sovereign. Because your kindness should never come at the cost of your wholeness. We're taught that kindness is always good, but no one teaches us what happens when kindness becomes a currency, a way to buy safety, approval, or belonging. From a young age, many of us learn that being liked is tied to being useful. We're praised for helping, for being low maintenance, for always being there. We're rewarded for self-sacrifice. So, we keep giving, not just from our overflow, but from our core. We say yes, not because it feels right, but because we're afraid of what no might cost us. Love, connection, peace. And slowly, our kindness turns into performance. We listen even when we're tired. We give even when it hurts. We smile when we're silently screaming. This isn't generosity. It's a survival skill. It's a way of saying, if I keep being useful, maybe I won't be abandoned. If I'm easy to love, maybe they'll stay. Carl Jung said, "Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol or morphine or idealism." And for many of us, the narcotic is being needed. Because being needed makes us feel worthy. It gives us a role. It fills the silence. But here's the price. You become irreplaceable to everyone, except yourself. You're exhausted, but don't know why. You're overwhelmed, but can't point to what exactly broke you. You're anxious when you're alone, because rest feels foreign, even unsafe. You've traded peace for performance, kindness for control, presence for approval. And worst of all, the people around you don't even notice, because they've gotten used to the version of you who gives without question, who never asks for anything in return. So when you finally set a boundary, it feels jarring, unfair, rude. But that's not because you're being unkind. It's because they were living off your silence. You don't owe anyone endless access. You don't have to earn your place by overextending. True kindness isn't about disappearing so others feel safe. It's about showing up whole, clear, honest, present. And that means your boundaries are part of your kindness, not a betrayal of it. Overgiving often looks like love, but underneath, it's usually fear. Not always, but often. Fear of being rejected, fear of being replaced, fear of not being enough unless you're constantly giving. You might say, I just care deeply, and that's true. But it's also true that sometimes we care so loudly for others because we're scared to sit with our own silence. Overgiving is rarely about what the other person needs. It's about what you hope to avoid: conflict, distance, disapproval. You give before you're asked. You explain before they misunderstand. You soften your truth so no one gets uncomfortable. Not because you're weak, but because at some point, you learn that shrinking keeps you safe. And it worked. Maybe in childhood. Maybe in relationships where you were only loved when you were easy to manage. But that survival pattern, it's not serving you anymore. Carl Jung said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." And one of the most socially accepted ways we avoid ourselves is by caring for everyone else. We become hyper-attuned, always reading the room, always checking in, always anticipating needs before anyone speaks. But who's reading you? Who's checking your pulse? When was the last time someone asked you, "What do you need, and what would happen if you didn't give right now?" That question can be terrifying because it makes you look at the cost, the tiredness you've normalized, the relationships that only exist because you keep fueling them, the identity you've built around being the one who always gives more than she gets. Overgiving keeps you busy, busy enough not to feel the loneliness, busy enough not to ask why the care you give never circles back. But there comes a moment when your body says, enough, when your spirit says, what about me? And that's when the fear shows its face. Because you realize, if you stop giving, some people may leave. If you stop softening, some people may get uncomfortable. If you stop over-explaining, some people may misunderstand you. Let them. Let the fear rise. Let it speak. And then let it go. Because the love you're trying to earn with overgiving, you've had it backwards. You don't always need to say more. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop explaining. Stop replying. Stop softening. Stop performing clarity for people who've already shown they don't value it. Silence is not passive. It's not a withdrawal. It's a boundary, spoken in a language that only self-respect understands. Because here's the truth. If someone keeps asking more of you than you can give, and you keep answering out of guilt, you're not being kind. You're being drained. You've tried the words. You've sent the long texts. You've over-clarified, over-apologized, over-given. And still, it's not enough. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because the wrong people will always ask you to do more of what hurts you. At some point, your nervous system realizes explaining is exhausting, justifying is depleting, silence is peace. Old Carl Jung used to say, "A man ain't what he says, but what he does." So let your silence do the talking. Let it speak for your body. Let it honor what your words had been too tired to carry, you know. Silence says, I'm no longer available for conversations that drain me dry. I'm no longer interested in convincing you of my value. I'm no longer shrinking my truth to stay in rooms I've outgrown. This kind of silence ain't cold. It's clear. It's not about punishing anyone. No. It's about preserving yourself. Because not everything deserves a response. Not every invitation deserves your energy. Not every crisis is yours to fix. You get to walk away without a dramatic exit. You get to close the door without slamming it. You get to protect your peace without a single sentence. And if someone misunderstands that, well, let them. Silence ain't the absence of care. It's the presence of a new standard. And if they can't hear that, they were never listening to begin with. You don't have to abandon your softness to protect your energy. You can be loving and have boundaries. You can be generous and say no. You can care deeply and still walk away. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that being loving meant being limitless. That if you really cared, you'd keep giving, keep listening, keep showing up, even when it cost you your peace. But that's not love. That's leakage. And emotional leakage isn't noble. It's unsustainable. It's giving when you're not resourced. It's saying yes because you're scared to be misunderstood. It's offering your energy out of habit, not alignment. You think it makes you kind, but what it really does is make you disappear. Piece by piece, promise by promise, yes by resentful yes. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And you can't become who you truly are when all your energy is being siphoned out through people-pleasing." Loving people doesn't mean leaking into every moment of their chaos. It means knowing what's yours to hold and what's not. It means asking, is this coming from compassion or compulsion? Am I helping or performing? You're not here to prove your worth through service. You're not here to earn your place by always being available. You're here to be true. And truth isn't cold. It's clear. It's calm. It's rooted in self-respect, not self-sacrifice. You don't need to give until you're empty. You don't need to fix everything to be worthy. You don't need to be the healer if you're the one bleeding. Let your love be chosen, not reflexive. Let your care come from fullness, not obligation. Let your boundaries be a part of your kindness, not the end of it. You can still love deeply, just not at the cost of disappearing. You don't have to become harsh to be clear. You don't have to stop caring to stop overgiving. You don't have to abandon your heart to finally come home to yourself. There is a version of you that still loves deeply, still gives generously, but no longer bleeds for people who only take. That version of you, she's not selfish. She's not distant. She's not cold. She's rooted. Rooted in discernment. Rooted in energy that's no longer leaking. Rooted in love that includes herself. Carl Jung said, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration. And this is the integration. You are kind, and you are allowed to say no. You are compassionate, and you are allowed to rest. You are thoughtful, and you are allowed to go quiet when your spirit says, not this, not now." Because silence is not the absence of love. It's the presence of self-respect. And boundaries, they don't break your kindness. They protect it. So if this message landed, if something in your chest softened, if something in your gut whispered, yes, that's what I've been needing, drop a comment below. I protect my peace with love. Let it be your vow. Let it be your shift. Let it be the moment you stopped over-explaining and started embodying. And if you're walking this path, learning to love without leaking, give without disappearing, speak without shrinking, subscribe. This space is for the quiet healers, the soft rebels, the ones who've always given too much and are finally giving something back to themselves. From this moment forward, let the silence speak. Let the boundary hold. Let the kindness stay rooted where it belongs, in you.